Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. Today we're talking Week 14 preview of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Indianapolis Colts. So the Vegas line for this one is an over-under of 47.5, and Tampa Bay is favored, so their implied point total is 25 versus Indy's 22. This is one I don't understand. I think the under is going to be hit on this one pretty easily, and I don't think that the high scoring affair that is expected right now is going to come to fruition at all, but we'll see if I'm right. So looking at the fantasy options, let's start with Tampa. So Jameis Winston has been pretty solid from a fantasy perspective all year, even though he's been a turnover machine, and pretty much week in, week out, he's been top 12 quarterback most weeks. This week is going to be a little bit harder for him. Indianapolis has actually been pretty good against the quarterback most of the year, and given that Winston has been committing a ton of turnovers, I don't expect him to actually have too great of a game this week. If you have a better option, I would try to pivot off of Winston. From the running perspective, there's so much. I mean, this is one of the most frustrating backfields. Ronald Jones is looking like he was finally gaining confidence with Bruce Arians as the starter, and then next week Peyton Barber gets 2 touchdowns and Ronald Jones gets benched towards the end of the game. I don't trust anyone in this backfield right now. It's likely that one of them has a good game. Again, good luck trying to figure out who it is. I'd rather just have both of them on my bench and try to go with another option this week. From a wide receiver perspective, you have to start Evans, you have to start Godwin. It has been a little back and forth between them to see who ends up being the better receiver week in and week out. My hunch says that this is going to be another Godwin week, but I do think that Evans will probably have a good game as well, so I would start both of them with confidence. Not really anyone else that you're starting there from a wide receiver's perspective, and I'm not trusting OJ Howard this week either. He's just been too inconsistent for you to trust going into the playoffs. Tampa Bay defense is actually an interesting play this week at home. They've been trending up the past couple weeks, even though they haven't been good for most of the season. And Indianapolis hasn't been tremendously solid on offense either. This could be a low-scoring defensive battle. If you don't have any of the better options this week for defense, Tampa Bay is actually a sneaky start and pretty cheap DFS play as well. Looking at the Indy side of the ball, Jacoby Brissett has been pretty subpar from a fantasy perspective for most of the past few weeks, and Tampa Bay has been trending up in their stinginess against fantasy quarterbacks. Looks like Hilton is out again. They do get Paris Campbell back, but I don't like Brissett to do too much in this matchup. He'll be okay. I don't expect him to implode, but I think there's much better options for you out there on the waiver wire. So I'm looking to pivot off of both quarterbacks in this matchup. We did get some good news. It looks like Marlon Mack has been practicing in full, coming back from that hand injury, and looks like he's going to start this week. So that means that you can't trust Jonathan Williams or Jordan Wilkins. I think you can trust Mack, even though Tampa Bay has had a pretty decent run defense. I think the Colts are going to still try to force feed the ball to Mack, and I think Mack will have a decent game. If he gets a touchdown, have a really good game. So if you've been waiting for Mack to come back, this is the week. He's done pretty well all year. I trust him again. From a receiver perspective, I mentioned that Paris Campbell is back from injury, and Zach Pascal had a really good game last week. Hilton is out, so that means one of these guys is probably going to have a good game. Between them, I would bank more on Zach Pascal having a good game, but I think these guys are all low wide receiver 3 options that hopefully you're not having to rely on going into the playoffs. The guy that I'm really interested in starting this week is Jack Doyle, the tight end for the Colts. Ever since Ebron has been out and Hilton hasn't been there, Jack Doyle has been the main red zone target for Jacoby Brissett. I like the odds of Jack Doyle getting another touchdown in this game, especially against Tampa Bay, who allowed 3rd most points to tight ends across the NFL. So I think Jack Doyle is your best play in the receiving game. I'm not really too excited about anyone else other than Mack. And then from a defensive perspective, I don't like playing defenses on the road, but I think that you're okay with playing Indy's defense in this game as well. I think this ends up being a who commits the least amount of turnovers will win the game battle. So with Jameis Winston on the other side of the ball, I think that Indianapolis is pretty guaranteed to at least get a couple turnovers, and that could turn into a really nice defensive play this week for you. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please feel free to like and subscribe for more content related to your fantasy football season. If you'd like to see the rest of these previews, please check out my playlist for week 14, and we'll see you guys in the next one.